At a meat processing facility in Brazil, a worker was operating an industrial meat grinder, one of the most powerful machines in the production area. Everything seemed normal as the worker prepared to process the next batch of meat. However, while adjusting the material near the machine's opening, his hand came too close to the moving parts. In an instant, it became caught in the grinder mechanism, triggering an immediate emergency response from nearby workers. Colleagues quickly hit the emergency stop switch, shutting down the machine and alerting the safety team. It was later found that the worker had not been using the required protective guard and feeding tool, which are designed to keep hands safely away from moving components. This incident underscores the importance of machine guarding, proper training, and strict adherence to lockout and tagout procedures in food processing plants. Industrial grinders and cutters should always be operated using designated push tools or paddles, never by hand. Safety guards must remain in place at all times, and no worker should reach inside a machine while it's in operation or even partially active. Supervisors should ensure that every employee understands how to use emergency stop devices and follows step-by-step shutdown protocols before maintenance or cleaning. Regular inspections, employee safety briefings, and enforcement of personal protective equipment rules can prevent severe injuries and protect both workers and productivity. At a busy fuel station, a worker was performing a regular refueling task. Everything appeared perfectly normal. The car was in place, the engine was off, and the pump was operating smoothly. But suddenly, a loud burst echoed through the area as the car experienced a mechanical failure that caused an explosion-like impact. The sudden noise and pressure startled everyone nearby, and panic spread as people quickly moved away for safety. This incident highlights how crucial regular vehicle maintenance and strict safety protocols are at fuel stations. Even minor electrical faults, fuel leaks, or pressure buildup in a vehicle can trigger hazardous situations. Workers must always ensure proper grounding, check fuel nozzles and hoses for leaks, and remain alert during every refill. Similarly, drivers should switch off their engines, avoid using electronic devices, and make sure their vehicles are in good mechanical condition before refueling. Safety isn't just the responsibility of the station, it's shared between workers and drivers. At a storage facility, a female worker was standing near a pit area while a crane operator moved a suspended load. The operator, unaware of her position, didn't see that she was within the load's path. As the crane moved, the suspended material made light contact with her, causing her to lose balance and fall into the nearby pit. Co-workers quickly stopped operations and rushed to assist. This incident highlights the critical importance of maintaining clear communication and visibility between crane operators and ground workers. Every crane movement involves potential blind spots, especially in areas with uneven flooring, storage pits, or multiple obstructions. Before lifting or moving any suspended load, operators must ensure that all personnel are outside the crane's operating radius. At a construction site, a worker was assigned to demolish a wall as part of a renovation project. Everything appeared to be under control. The area was cleared, and the worker was using a demolition tool to break down the structure section by section. However, as he continued working, a sudden shift occurred. A larger portion of the wall gave way unexpectedly and fell forward. Caught by surprise, the worker was struck by the collapsing section. This incident emphasizes the importance of planning and hazard assessment before any demolition work begins. Every wall should be checked for load-bearing connections, hidden supports, and potential weak points that might cause a collapse. Workers must always maintain a safe distance from the structure and stand in a clear escape zone while striking or cutting. At a warehouse facility in Kazakhstan, 2 employees were using a freight elevator to transport materials between floors. The elevator was loaded with heavy goods, and the workers were in the process of unloading the materials at one level. Moments later, the elevator suddenly shuddered and dropped without warning. The platform plunged down the shaft, leaving the second worker trapped inside. Emergency services were immediately called, and rescue operations began. But unfortunately, the worker inside did not survive the fall. This event highlights the critical importance of regular elevator inspections and strict adherence to safety protocols. Freight elevators should never carry people unless specifically designed and certified for that purpose. Load limits must always be respected, and maintenance schedules must be followed without delay. Every worker should be aware of the dangers of standing inside a lift during loading or unloading, especially when the platform is under heavy strain. A few seconds of caution can make the difference between life and loss. Slaughterhouse. A worker entered the holding area where a bull was kept before processing. As he stepped inside, Bull suddenly became agitated, possibly reacting to movement or noise nearby. Within seconds, the animal charged toward the worker. What began as a routine entry turned into a tense reminder of how unpredictable large animals can be, especially in confined or high-stress environments. This incident highlights the need for strict animal handling protocols. Workers should always ensure that animals are secured or separated before entering holding zones. In a busy city neighborhood, construction workers were carrying out excavation and foundation work for a new building. Everything seemed to be progressing normally until a section of the exposed mud wall suddenly gave way. Without any visible warning, the soil mass collapsed into the pit, burying the area where several workers had been standing just moments earlier. Nearby workers immediately called for help, and rescue efforts began at once using excavators and manual tools to remove the fallen soil. Emergency teams soon arrived at the scene to assist and investigate. The initial findings indicated that the excavation lacked proper shoring or retaining systems, which are designed to support the soil and prevent collapses. Factors such as moisture, vibration from machinery, or overloading near the edge may have contributed to the failure. This incident demonstrates why proper excavation safety is non-negotiable in construction work. Before digging deep foundations, engineers must conduct a soil stability analysis and install retaining walls or sheet piling where needed. Workers should be trained to recognize warning signs like small cracks, leaning surfaces, or falling debris. Regular site inspections, controlled entry zones, and the use of protective gear can prevent similar tragedies. Supervisors should also ensure that no heavy machinery operates too close to the edge of an unsupported excavation. Safety at construction sites is built from the ground up. When procedures are followed carefully and preventive measures are taken seriously, every worker can go home safely at the end of the day. On a scenic hillside covered in snow, a group of off-road enthusiasts gathered to enjoy a day of jeep riding. The air was filled with excitement as drivers took turns climbing the steep, icy slopes. One of the jeeps began its ascent smoothly, its tires spinning slightly against the frozen ground. But as it reached a steeper section, traction was lost. The vehicle suddenly slid backward, and before the driver could regain control, the jeep veered off course and moved downhill directly toward a group of riders standing nearby. Within seconds, it collided with parked jeeps at the base of the slope, creating a chaotic scene. The noise echoed through the valley, and those nearby rushed to help, ensuring everyone was safe and accounted for. What was meant to be an adventurous day became a powerful reminder of the risks involved in driving on icy terrain. This incident highlights the critical importance of preparation and caution during winter off-road activities. Drivers should always check their tire traction, maintain proper distance between vehicles, and avoid standing in potential downhill paths. Using snow chains, keeping a lower gear, and maintaining slow, steady movement are key techniques for climbing icy hills safely. At a high-rise construction site in Vietnam, a worker was seen performing his duties near the edge of a building without proper fall protection. Suddenly, he lost his footing and plunged several floors down. He was seriously shaken, but managed to survive, a rare miracle in such cases. Falls from height remain one of the leading causes of fatalities in the construction industry worldwide. Most of these tragedies happen not because of equipment failure, but because of overconfidence, lack of training, or ignored safety protocols. This incident in Vietnam serves as a critical reminder that every task performed at height requires strict adherence to safety standards. Even a single step near an unprotected edge can turn deadly in seconds. To begin with, every worker operating above 2 meters must wear a full-body safety harness connected to a certified anchor point. Harnesses are not optional. They are life-saving devices designed to arrest a fall and minimize injury. Employers should ensure that each harness and lanyard is inspected daily for wear, tear, and corrosion before use. Additionally, edge protection barriers and guardrails should always be installed on open floors, scaffolding, and temporary structures. Workers should never rely on balance or caution alone. The slightest distraction can be fatal. Training and awareness play a massive role in preventing these incidents. All personnel must be trained on proper anchorage techniques, safe climbing methods, and how to respond in case of a fall. Supervisors should conduct daily toolbox talks to remind workers of hazards and safe practices. This worker in Vietnam was lucky. He survived what could have been a fatal fall. But luck should never replace preparation. Every construction worker deserves to go home safely, and that's only possible when safety becomes part of the culture, not just compliance. Inside a warehouse storage area, a worker was near a partition wall while handling materials. On the other side of that wall, several heavy stacks of goods were piled close together. As other workers attempted to lift one of the stacked items, it unexpectedly slipped out of position. The sudden movement caused the entire stack to push against the wall, which wasn't built to handle the extra pressure. In moments, the wall gave way and collapsed, trapping the nearby worker beneath the debris. This incident serves as a strong reminder that safety in storage areas is not only about lifting techniques, it's also about how materials are organized and supported. Heavy items should always be stacked on stable, level surfaces, with adequate spacing between the stack and any walls or partitions. Structural walls are not designed to bear lateral pressure from stored goods, so they must be kept clear at all times. Before lifting or moving materials, workers should carefully assess the stability of nearby stacks and communicate with one another to ensure everyone is aware of what's being moved. Supervisors should also conduct regular inspections to verify that stacking heights are within safe limits, and that materials are secured using pallets, racks, or barriers when necessary. Safety training programs should emphasize hazard awareness, proper load distribution, and teamwork, especially in confined areas where space is limited. By combining smart storage planning, equipment checks, and constant communication, workplaces can significantly reduce the risk of wall collapses, shifting materials, and other preventable accidents.